So you can see I have just my introduction little sketches and tracing here. I've only really done the hair, eyebrows, eyes, which I would like to do a little more detail to, and then the nose and mouth. Remember when we talked at the beginning of this project as well, especially if you're doing a person, less lines are sometimes better because they don't age you. If you draw every line on our face, you're going to end up looking kind of wrinkly and old. So please do try to keep it minimal. But once you get done with your tracing, you have multiple options on how you might fill in different areas. So we might go for our acrylic paint, which is going to do a nice coverage for us on the acetate. Maybe you'll do some Sharpies, for example, if you want the hair or the eyes, or the hair or the eyes, then we can use Sharpie to use either dots or line work to fill things in. And then also I had mentioned as well, if you want to try to experiment with some newspaper clippings or magazine cutouts, we can also glue on here really nicely. So like for my shirt here, I have a flannel on. It might be cool to experiment with my flannel instead of just painting it in to see if I can find some different materials or media to do that. Now, if you are going to think about using Sharpies, I want to start off with those because we can create something that are called Ben-Day dots. These are established by a pop artist whose name is Roy Lichtenstein. You may have heard of him in the past, but he created artwork that resembled comics, and he would fill in their skin tones for his characters with Ben-Day dots. Now, most of the time, he would use our primary colors. Any memories on our primaries, folks? What 3 primary colors do we have? Red, yellow, blue. Bingo. I heard a couple of y'all. So those primary colors were oftentimes the color scheme that they would use within pop art. When I think of those primaries, blue is one of my favorite colors. I typically go towards blue. So I could make what we call Ben-Day dots, which are simply circles, little dots, that you would then fill in the whole space with. Now, a lot of times we would hope that these Ben-Day dots are consistent, but as the artist, you would get to decide if you wanted to fill them in really consistently, do different sizes. You could make smaller dots for smaller areas, bigger dots for bigger areas, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's just one way we could fill in an area to be represented with those dots. Now, if I'm doing my hand or my skin tone with Ben-Day dots, then I would want that to be consistent. So be thoughtful about that. Unless you are intentionally going to have really different techniques, different lines, different dots for each area. Now, if you're someone who's like, no, Mrs. Keitel, I'm not touching Sharpies, I'm going straight in for acrylic paint, then what you would do is decide what colors you want. Again, those pop artists really go for those primaries, yellow, blue, and red. But you all have all the colors at your fingertips. You can mix your own colors. We can do as exactive skin tones if we want, or we could create completely new people as characters. So however you choose is up to you. But if you are going to be using some acrylic, there's a couple ways to apply these. But every way that we do it, you're going to want to do so in layers. We want that acrylic paint to be able to dry, and then we will add more. So always thinking in layers. Now for this here, I'm going to do red for my hair. So I'm going to take some acrylic paint. I'm using a brush for this. So immediately I'm going to have this brush stroke look. Whatever kind of brush or how you're adding these on here, those lines, those brush strokes, we will be able to see on the other side of our acetate here. Now, it's okay if I paint over my Sharpie lines. Why is that? Anyone know? Why is it okay if I paint over the Sharpie lines if I'm working on the back of it? Well, the reason why... Oh, Josie, thank you. Yeah, so it's okay if we do that because when we flip this over, it's not going to ruin our lines. In fact, our lines are going to pop even more having that color over them, okay? So I'm going to just fill in this hair here. I am being careful. I'm not being sloppy and just painting over all the lines, but I do know if I paint over them, it's not a big deal. And I just want to peek so we can all kind of see here. Once you have a little color or that base down, it's going to start to fill in that acetate. Now you can also tell though that I need another layer, right? I can see there's lighter spots. I can see through the acetate. I want to fill that in so it's a nice, solid, beautiful color. Another technique you might try is to have it be a little more textured. Maybe you do kind of like a dabbing technique, but be careful to still try to keep it a thin thickness so it can dry, and we can always go back with lots of layers. If you make it thick, that's okay, but it's going to need more time to dry. All right, well, this is our basic for where we're at with our tracing. You'd want to make sure all your Sharpie's done. Always continue to work on the same side as you're tracing, and let me know if you have any questions.